If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Grimerica.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. Coming at you a little bit late. We'll be talking to Levi Barker this week about Iboga and how you can use that to treat addiction and other things like that. Our lazy ramblings might be extra lazy this week. If you want to skip them, there's always a timestamp in those show notes. Our intro might be a little shorter than normal. We do have some things to go through, but we have been traveling. We are jet lagged. We got back from another successful contact at the cabin event down in Utah. Everybody had a blast. It's always so beautiful to see these people coming together and having a time. Dave's really coming into his own, and Brandon is just knocking it out of the park these days. Of course, we got to meet Brandon Thomas down there and his lovely wife, and Kevin came and played some music for us, and Brad from Cosmographia. Shout out to all those presenters, and of course, everyone else that joined us down there. I mean, I can't name you all by name. Of course, I will give a shout out to Bill and Megan and Oliver and Tori, because they did help out with all that lovely food. Am I forgetting any of the staff, Graham?
You put me on the spot here.
We better give a shout out to Hank too. You know, I know Hank's listening, so shout out to Hank Loby. Your folks are cooler than you think. They did a great job.
Speaking of that, I mean, I think we're going to do a family one next year, right?
That's the plan. That's the plan. Is if we get enough interest, we're going to do a family-oriented CAC where you can bring your kids for free. And we're even looking at doing some stuff where we can maybe have some people that will do some kids exercises around camp during the day so that the adults can maybe sneak off and go play on some side-by-sides or something like that, or whatever adulting they might want to do without the kids. But we might just be able to offer that as you don't have to worry about watching your kids all the time. There'll be a ton of parents there and a ton of other people that have your kids' best interests at heart. Of course, we had a little dudes doing the ice baths this time and having crazy visions too. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah.
We got Graham, I hate flying Dunlop over here.
I know we'll talk about our trips a little bit, like the logistics of going back and forth. Because we've been
fucking nightmare.
Yeah, we've been talking about that on and off a little bit about flying and border crossings and stuff like that. So we'll get into that. But I guess, I mean, if that next one in Utah is going to be in the summer and we're still going to do the stargazing thing, what?
August 1st to
5th. It probably gets late. It might not get get dark any later. It's probably already getting darker by that time. It's probably very similar to now, I bet. Probably very similar to 8 o'clock, my prediction would be.
Let me check.
2 months after June 21st compared to 2 months or a month and a half compared to the 2 months before or a month and a half before. I bet it's very similar.
August 2, sunset, Bryce Canyon.
Because this time I think it got dark around,
8:36.
Yeah, a little later, so not too bad.
Time, I want to say it was 8:16 or 8:13 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty close. So it won't change that. It won't change the stargazing part. It'll just be a lot warmer, yeah.
It'll be a lot warmer. And, I mean, we had a blast up on Bryce. I got to say, the pizza oven going with that pizza oven, like, even though it wasn't, like, to do fresh pies up there for 50 people would be a little bit overwhelming. But when you went and bought some nice wood-fired pies in the town, the closest town's an hour and a half away, but we were able to get some nice pizzas from there. Beauty pizzas. Go pick them up, and we had the oven going up there. We could reheat them in the pizza oven up on Bryce Canyon top. It wasn't Rainbow Point this year because we couldn't get up there, Yovimpa, because of there was too much snow. So we were stuck just about 3 miles down the road, but we still had a time with a nice 360 view. We had Kevin from Unpaved blasting the music, and we reheated like 40 pizzas. We got through almost all the pizzas. We got through 35 of 40 pizzas out there, and everyone was having a blast. It was cloudy as fuck. It really seemed like we were not going to get the Bryce Canyon stargazing for the first time in 3 years. It seemed like we were going to get clouded out, but against all odds, it just, as soon as it got dark and we were ready to start stargazing, I mean, it just cleared up just long enough for us to do what we had to do and then clouded back over. I mean, isn't that how it happened? It seems crazy, but
it is, because it was really thick clouds too. That's why I was almost ready to give up. I'm like, those are thick clouds, but they seem to just dissipate as soon as it got dark.
Shauna has not stopped. She couldn't believe it. I remember she was like, because I was all day, I was like, well, it still says it's going to be clear. I mean, maybe it'll just clear up. But we were like driving on. She's like, it's 100% not going to clear up.
Yeah.
All the way
so what
down.
was another highlight?
I fucking believe it.
Yeah. What was another highlight for you before we get into the travel part?
Oh, the snow machining was the best. It was the highlight. I mean, it's all amazing. Bryce amazing. Zion's amazing.
The people are amazing.
But third time around, having been to Bryce, been to Zion, the people still always amazing every time. But I love the adventure stuff. Last year, the side-by-siding was probably my favorite. This year's a snow machine. I mean, we were up snow machining. We were on like we found some old highways where the street signs, there was just like the top, like 12 inches of them sticking out of the snow. And trees were buried, some spots 20 feet of snow. I mean, it was a real blast. And then, of course, Sean and I went down a little early, and I went to the Grand Canyon, the West Rim. Check that out. That was pretty cool. Went to the Hoover Dam and checked that out. So it was a good trip. Got to see a lot of stuff I haven't seen before. But the snow machining was still a blast. The snow machining and the people. The people are always fantastic. It was crazy to see 28 feet of snow, too. I mean, I've never seen so much snow in my life.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
And for April, too,
And half melted. What about you?
Well, I like the breath work. Brandon kind of added the dimension to his breath work. And then, of course, Kevin was there with his DJ equipment. So one night the music was blaring and Brandon was in there too, hooting and hollering into the machine. So I just feel like that was a new sort of experience from Brandon. Brandon kind of like changed it up a little bit, his breath work. So that was good. And the people, as usual.
And the food. Also, the food is amazing.
Yes, the chili was good.
The chili was great. If I had to pick a favorite meal, be the chili. Even though
I love the chili. It was amazing.
I was fucking insane.
I'm not really a chili guy either, but to like it that much, I was like, wow, this is really good.
The non-highlight was getting drunk and being so hungover that I missed Zion. You pay for that party. Someone just sent a video of me dancing like a fool. I mean, we had a time. We had a time while we were having a time, but I sure paid for that time the next day. I'm getting too old for that stuff.
Yeah.
Just tie one on one night and just laid out until I didn't get out of bed till 5 p.m. the next day. I think it's also because I didn't really eat on snow machine day.
And the snow machining itself must have hurt your body. I mean, your body must have been going, what the hell did you just do to me? You snow machined all day, then got hammered. I mean.
It's like, fuck you, motherfucker. It was good, though. Made it back in one piece. Got searched at the border and accused of being a gun runner.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Oh, my God. So what is going on here?
So they have me, I kept telling Sean they're going to pull me aside.
Okay, so because it's all automated now, right? When I went through the customs, I just scan your passport, you get a little printout, you hand it to a dude, and you get to go through, grab your bag, and then
those guys up at the front to look for you already. It's
what?
It's picked you already.
When? What do you mean?
Well, when you go to that white kiosk, they're picking you out then.
Yeah. But that's because you're scanning your passport. They're not picking you up before you scan your passport.
I don't think so. It's when I scan my passport, it's flagging out.
And what
And
number
I know
did it give
for
you on
sure.
the printout?
I know for sure because when they pulled me aside and Sean was like, "Oh, we got through," and I'm like, "No, that's not getting through." I was like, "You're not through until you got your bags and you're past that." Those are the guys that get you. And sure enough, got the bags, tried to go out, passing the thing, and he right away points down the hallway.
Do you remember what your number was on the printout? I
I don't remember. And I was like, "I knew it, you motherfucker." And he's like laughing. And I was like, "Hey, it's man." He's like, "Hey, man, that's how it goes sometimes."
You
So
really? You said that?
Yeah, because I'm livid, dude. I knew this was going to happen from the whole last time, right? This is 3 times in a row. On the way to the States, they searched me. On the way back from the States. And now on the way back from the States again. So last time they ripped my truck apart for 2 hours. I was late. I had to make different arrangements. I had to get you to run and pick up the kids from school.
Yeah.
Because I'm stuck at the border for 2.5 hours longer than scheduled. And then, of course, this time I had Miles picking them up from school, and I'm stuck at the airport for another 2 hours, just sitting in a room while they're doing their bullshit. Well, this Elmer Fudd-looking motherfucker starts looking, x-raying my things, asking me about guns. And I was like, do you fucking idiots think I'm dumb enough to try and bring guns into the country? And he's like, well, on March 11th, you talked about going down to the States to buy a gun. I was like, yeah. And what did I do? I asked you fucking guys what the process was of going down to the States and buying a gun. Does that sound like something that a fucking gun smuggler would do?
Well, this is the problem. So you go through the channels to try and do it properly, and no wonder why people don't want to do that, right? They just give you a fucking hassle. Now you're marked because you asked a fucking question.
Now I'm marked, yeah. So this guy went through all our shit, and I'll have to say, off Daggle. I was just calling him Daggle. I started by calling him Officer Daggle, but at the end I was just calling him Daggle with a little bit of faggle mixed in here and there for effect. I have to say, Daggle, if you're listening, you piece of shit, you have remarkable patience.
Why? What was he?
You know how I get with these people.
So what was he looking for? Once he found out there's no guns, don't they stop looking?
He's still looking. So he x-rays the luggage. And then he's like, goes to go start unpacking it all. So I'm filming him. I'm filming the whole thing. And like calling him names that I won't repeat here because it could be considered as hate speech.
Did you play your Indian card? Did you show him your Indian card?
I got into the colony. I was like, you're the third time and you're searching the India. Search all the fucking Indians. I'm the only one you pulled off the plane. And it's not because of that. It's because of the gun thing. And of course, he's just like, this chubby, dopey looking piece of shit, too. I mean, he looks like Elmer Fudd. So, but anyway, you know how I get. So he's there going through my stuff, going through Shauna's underwear and shit. And it's just like infuriating, It really is. So I gave it to him and I was filming him. So he didn't like that. So he's like, we could make this go faster, Mr. Grimes. And I was like, I got all the time in the world, motherfucker. And his little partner over there, because there's like 10 border guards all back there at different stations doing fuck all. I mean, this is our tax dollars at work. 12 guys back there just fucking laughing, joking. By this point, they're all laughing at Daggle because I'm guessing not a lot of people give these customs guys a hard time. You know what I mean? Most of the guys that are in there are like, oh, fuck. They don't want to get in trouble. Either they are doing something wrong.
Oh, yeah, it can be totally intimidating. It feels like a cop thing, right?
Or they're intimidated.
Yeah.
But it's not even a cop thing. It's like a security guard. That's how I view it. It's like a fucking mall cop. So you could see the one guy, especially the guy that's like sharing the booth with them, but because there's like 2 stations per booth, and the one guy's in the other booth and he's just sitting like this, like just sort of half covering his face, sort of with the grid on. While I'm calling his partner I won't repeat it here, but a bunch of names because I was losing my cool. I'd been traveling all day, and I just knew it. I'd been like picturing my entire trip. I knew I was having troubles on the way back in the country.
Well, maybe you manifested it.
I'm sick and fucking tired of it. No, well, he's told me flat out I'm on the list.
He told you you're on the list.
I'm on the list.
Because you asked a question about how to bring guns into the country.
Yeah, he's like, expect fucking to get hassled every time you come back.
What a joke.
I mean, I'm happy to talk to the fucking lawyers and being like, what the fuck? Can they do this? Can they search me every time I come into the country? Is this not some sort of weird human rights violation? I've got extensive
because you asked how to legally bring a button.
And not only that, I have extensive enough fucking background checks done on me that I'm allowed to own handguns in one of the most restrictive environments, right? I own handguns in fucking Canada. the hoops that I had to jump through and the background checks that I had to have done to do that are bigger than the Nexus checks. That's why I was telling Sean, we might as well get Nexus because I already know I'll pass the background check. They run a background check on me every fucking morning. Bing,
Actually, might as well. Maybe you should go to Nexus then. I mean, that might even get you through.
I'm gonna get that. I'm just gonna get it because I don't think it's the fee that's much. It's the background check, and I've got that. The fucking police in Canada run a background check on me every day to make sure that I haven't got any crazy charges, so they can come and take my handguns away. So that was my experience, and that I have the video. I'm not gonna post it. I mean, I kind of feel bad for calling Daggle all the names today, but fuck him.
I don't know. Maybe they need to.
Remarkable. At the very end, he was just like, "It's been a pleasure, Mr. Grimes."
You know what? And I mean, maybe it's good because at some point these guys might have to push back against their superiors or against the system.
Exactly what my point is, because it's not that. And he's like, "Dude, I'm just doing my job," and I was like, "Yeah, but I don't get to talk to your fucking boss." So maybe when enough of you guys are like, "Hey man, I'm sick of dealing with fucking Darren. He never has guns and he calls me a fucking names all for fucking 10 minutes while I go through his shit. I don't want to do it anymore." Then maybe their boss will be like, "Hey man." Probably not. I mean, I'm probably just doing it to fuck with me at this point.
It's just honestly,
I'm being politically persecuted.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's just really indicative of why people don't trust the government, right? So now this is why people go underground and this is why they go outside the system, because of you idiots like that just flag somebody for asking a question about how to legally do something.
It's fucking whack.
So, wow. So do you want to hear my incompetence? Because what sticks to me in my head is the way you call the airport system. The airport, there's another word I could probably use. What would you call it? The whole airport.
It's a complex system.
Complex system. or it's almost like
it's one of the most complex systems that we've got.
An organism. It's almost an organism.
One of the most complex fucking systems that we've got going.
And it's falling apart. I mean,
supply chain is like linked to it in some ways, but
I feel like we have to be careful every time you're flying somewhere to leave an extra time because there's so many delays and stuff. So
dude, if I would have left only an hour and a half, I would have been 90 minutes before the flight home. We would have been fucked because we sat in line in the Vegas airport for an hour and a half to get through security.
Oh, right. Well, that was the other issue.
4 people working back there.
The security problem. There was a major glitch in the security thing. It was pushing all the bags for the extra inspection when I went through security in Vegas, and there's a whole bunch of people waiting for their bags to be checked for 20 minutes, half hour even. They had to go fix it and put everybody's bags through a different one. Glitches in that. Yeah, glitches everywhere. So I'm getting ready to go direct from Calgary to Vegas, and it's an hour late. So I'm like, oh boy. So because I'm supposed to grab the van and pick everybody up. So I'm thinking, okay, and Bill's was an hour late. So I'm like, that's weird. We're both an hour late. So we get on the plane and they say, well, the Vegas runway is under construction. So there's major delays today. So that went on for a couple hours. So we're sitting on the plane for a couple hours. And then they said, okay, Vegas has given us approval to go. We're going to take off. And then they're literally going through the takeoff. They go through all the takeoff stuff, and then they stop and say, well, our crew can't make it to Vegas and back because they're going to be over their time limit of 13 hours or whatever. I'm like, you guys didn't realize this like 20 minutes ago or a half hour ago? You're just realizing it now? When we're right about to leave, somebody just pipes up and says,
hey, wait.
Wait, I'm going to be overtime.
That's what it was one fucking guy.
One loser guy that can't make the flight. I hate to be so negative on this intro, but
I got plans.
So
it's Atlas Shrugged World. I'm telling you, there's nothing but more evidence for this after the trip.
Oh yeah. So then he so they say, okay, we're gonna switch out the crews. So we waited about an hour for another crew. They said it was only gonna be a half hour. Comes out another crew. Okay, the crew's there. We're gonna get going. Everybody's cheering. Finally, we've been sitting there for 3 hours. So it's 4 hours late now. They get on the guy gets on the phone. I can't upload the flight plan. There's something wrong with the system. The flight plan won't upload. So I got to get it emailed to me or a printout so we can manually enter it into the system. Everybody's like, what the fuck? Like they don't even, I think in the US, they just lie about these things. But Canada's just telling the truth. Like, oh, we can't upload the flight plan. Like, don't tell people that. No, I mean, I'm glad they did. But so then that went on for like another 45 minutes or an hour. So we were sitting there on the plane I was like 4 hours late, 5 hours late.
And then you still have a 4-hour drive up the mountain.
Yeah.
After that whole rental car fiasco, I almost got in a fight with a cabbie as soon as we got there. Because we got there and there's a giant line for the fucking shuttle, a huge line. So I'm like, well, fuck it, we'll just take a cab.
For what shuttle?
The shuttle up at the Vegas airport, the shuttle to the rent-a-car place.
Oh.
There's a huge line, like back through all the queues and then out a bit. And we waited in line once and then it's like, we're not going to get on. So like, fuck it, we'll go get a cab. So we go to cab and he already starts like freaking out because I'm only going to the rental car place. Like fucking bitching, like freaking out in his little African language. And so he like, whatever, he puts it at $20. So I'm like, whatever, I'll pay the $20 when we get there. And then he's like, well, it's cash only when we get there, after we get there. And he like drops the other. I'm like, I don't have any fucking cash, man. I just got here off the plane. I don't have any American cash yet. I have a credit card. Starts freaking out again. Then he starts bipping at Shauna. So then, we start getting in each other's face and then he ends up making his machine work. And I ended up, it fizzled out. But when he went running in his glove box, I did think he was grabbing a gun. I was going to jump on his back. So, I mean, I hate that fucking city. I just like to get out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half closer than Salt Lake, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a long to drive. And plus that hour you gain on the way back that last morning, it really is priceless.
Yeah. On
a 3.5 hour commute like that. So, yeah, contact at thecabin.com if you guys want to get in on the festivities. We got another trip coming up this year. Of course, we got 3. We got the Randall Carlson stuff. We've got the Montana Randall Carlson stuff. And then we've got the Canada one. That is the natural hot springs and out in BC, natural hot springs beside the river. We'll be in the river for the cold plunge. And then into the hot springs. A few spots left for that. Contact at thecabin.com if you guys want to get in on that. Of course, keep an eye on that because those Eclipse tickets are going to be going on sale right away. Probably within the next 30 days, we will have those Eclipse tickets on sale for our Total Eclipse Festival down in Hill Country, Texas. Support the show, guys. Grimerica.ca/support. We can't do this without you. Trying to build this community of things and people and everything else we're trying to do over here. We need your support, whether it's energetic or cash or treasure or whatever the no agenda guys say. It's a value.
Time, talent, or treasure.
Yeah, we put in a lot of effort into all this stuff we try and manifest in the world. If you could help us manifest something to pay the bills with, that'd be fantastic. Head over to Grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for monthly or make a one-time donation, whatever floats your boat. But trust us, it will help float our boat over here, and we would be immensely grateful. We can't do without you guys. We really can't. And times are tighter than ever. Grimerica.ca/support. Sign up today. What else you got?
Well, I got a synchro if you want from.
Yeah, let's do a synchro and then we'll get out of here.
Okay. And I got a quote too if you want.
Oh yeah, we'll do that too. Okay, let's see. We'll do this one.
I'm a rambling gram with synchronicities all over the web. And Darren is skeptical about everyone and don't believe it yet.
Actually, this one is from Tori. He was telling me we were up at Bryce Canyon looking out, and he was telling me about his dog synchronicities. He had a bunch of these dog synchronicities, and it's just great. It's crazy. So I can't remember the second one was a little bit more complex, so I'm not going to try and remember both of them. But the first one, and I'll probably get this somewhat wrong, but friends of his had these dogs, and he was going to take one of the dogs off him, right? But the dog didn't really want to come with him. It kept sort of wanting to go back to his friend's place. And it didn't have a name, so he was going to name the dog after himself, Tori. And I think the friends knew this, and I don't think they thought it was a good idea or something like that. But the dog ran away, and he ended up in a shelter. The dog was found on the shelter website, or somehow his friends found the dog on the shelter, and they knew the dog's name was Tori, was supposed to be, but he didn't have any ID on the dog at all. And the people in the shelter coincidentally named the dog Tori.
What?
Yeah.
Huh.
They didn't even know who this dog was or where it was from, but the dog ended up in the shelter named Tori. And that was the name that he was going to get by his owner, but it ran away. And his friends took the dog because that's where the dog wanted to be anyways.
All right, Tori. Yeah.
Imagine that.
7.7.
7.7.
You beat Graham right out of the gate.
And here's one that I can read to you. It's from Two French. I shouldn't have said the last name.
Recent?
It's very recent. Why?
She was in touch years and years ago about coming to a trip. So I was wondering if she was.
Oh, wow. That's weird. Really, eh? So wanted to share this with you. Hey, guys, was listening to an NDE account and was thinking about telepathic ability. I remembered a time in 2008, before I ever heard of such a thing, when I was at a massage therapist conference and I was in charge of the entertainment. I decided to bring belly dancing girls for the dinner banquet show. I needed a way for the ladies to play their CD and asked the big name presenter who had control of the audio visual setup if I could use his system in the hotel just to play a few tracks over the speakers. He refused me. I had to scramble to find a portable CD player just to give the dancers something to move to, even though so many in the ballroom couldn't really hear the music. The dancing girls knew who the VP was and gave him special attention during the dances. He loved it. I was so angry at the big name presenter that I thought, see, it could have been so much better for everyone, but no, you had to be such a smuck. The next morning, I was still angry at him, and for his whole 3-hour presentation, none of his audio or video equipment worked. I was smug. So here I am, all these years later in 2023, and out of the blue, I get an email from the massage therapist organization asking me if I knew anyone who could run video for this same big name presenter. Ha ha ha. No, I don't know anyone. But really, what are the odds that a memory came to me and not more than an hour later, I got an email pertaining to the same scenario? Love you guys. To the masseuse.
See, I don't have to rate that one. Well, I'll give that one like an 8.5 on the ripple stick scale.
Oh, yeah. That's what I said to her. I said, maybe you were precogging the emotional reaction that you were about to feel.
Do I still have the ripple stick jingle? It's been a long time.
But that's still a synchronicity, though, right? It's just a subtype.
Is it a subtype of synchro? Could be.
Well, I think it's still a synchro because people don't really know if it's a ripple stick or not. That's just a theory. It's just a partial explanation.
Yeah. But it has to be.
No.
Doesn't it?
No.
But it is a ripple stick.
I mean, what if she manifested it? You know? What if she was thinking about it so much that person that emailed them just had like
Stick. Ripple before the stick now, yeah. Ripple before the stick.
Ripple stick.
That's a good rating, though.
That is, yeah. All right, what else you got?
I think I got a quote, or do I have a quote? Yeah, I think I got a quote for you. Hope the quote doesn't get us in trouble.
It's the profound quote of the week. Darren, can you guess it? It's the profound quote of the week. Can you guess the human who spoke it or wrote it down? Profound quote of the week.
So this is okay. I won't tell you yet. I'll give you hints if you want them. And to confront the possibility of something so evil where people willingly go along, like government officials, who really is the puppet master, I have no idea. Or is this just a swarm emergent phenomena? I just don't have enough data to disambiguate that. But I do know that this reflexive reaction of people like yourself, in which it's hard for you to even grapple with the possibility of such darkness as a globally coordinated propaganda campaign. As one example, I just learned from my trip to Austria that I came back from yesterday that massive amounts of capital are being deployed to essentially buy off artist influencers across the world in a harmonized, simultaneous fashion.
Ooh, that must be somewhat recent.
Very recent. Contemporary scientist, I guess.
Scientist?
Yeah.
Like,
Became somewhat famous during the last 3 years.
Like Huberman? Or Peterson?
No. Directly related to COVID.
That's going to be the Malone, no?
Good, nice. Good one. Yeah.
Well, you had to like a couple good hints, though.
Yeah, but still, that's pretty good, though. It could have been a plethora of scientists coming to the front.
Plethora.
This whole thing.
Plethora.
Before we forget, though, we should talk. I don't know if we talked about it on the last intro, but the YouTube channel, our Adult Brain YouTube channel, has some free audiobooks, including Darren's more recent audio production called...
Both of them are on there now.
In Their Own Words, yeah, and your other one too. But In Their Own Words is pretty special because it's also got narration from, I think we did mention it. Narration from Kyle Delisle and Marissa LeBlanc as the voices of the indigenous peoples.
Oh, yeah, and a bunch of slides too. It's worth watching the YouTube video.
Yeah.
The Adult Brain YouTube channel. People, go subscribe. We got to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're almost at the watch hours limit to monetize that and maybe start making some money off those audiobooks. But we do need to get to 1,000 subscribers. And I know that there's multiple.
Oh, you got to get to both those things?
Yeah, both. And I know that there's multiple thousands of you motherfuckers listening right now. So if 1,000, you could just go subscribe for that. Just even 700 is all we need. Even if you don't plan to listen, I mean, what do you care? Just go subscribe. You're on YouTube anyway. You know you are. Adult Brain Publishing. It'll pop right up. I think that's about it. We'll leave you guys to jump into. Do you have a bio for Levi?
Yep. So Levi is a Iboga provider at Iboga Wellness Center in Costa Rica. Over the last 8+ years, this center has helped people move past depression, PTSD, anxiety, self-limiting belief systems, substance and non-substance addictions. Iboga is sometimes called the world's strongest psychedelic medicine. The root of the plants sends seekers into a deep introspection on their life and the guidance on the path forward and what shifts need to take place. Iboga has gained a reputation over the last 10 years as being a powerful life advancement tool. There you go.
There you have it, guys. Enjoy the chat. Levi Barker.
Levi Barker, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this will be fun. We're going to talk about Iboga and the retreats you have in Costa Rica. I guess we can maybe start with a little bit about your background, about you, and maybe how you got to that point.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in the Central Valley of California, kind of in the agricultural heartland, and I was, kind of like the start of the opiate epidemic, and had a bad snowboarding accident, broke my wrist, had to get surgery, and got prescribed my first opiates. And I should say my grandpa from a young age was a heroin addict pretty much his whole life. So there was definitely some things in there before that, certainly helped. But, I went for it for about 10 years, eventually got beat up pretty well. It's tough to keep life together as a young junkie. But eventually a really good friend of mine recommended Iboga, and he actually sent me some. And at the time I was coming down, I've been here in Central America for about 15 years. And at the time I was living in Nicaragua. And, I did what everybody says not to do, basically. and I did a home detox. Didn't really know much about it. The only thing I knew was it was supposed to take away the physical symptoms of the withdrawal. And it certainly did. And, that was kind of the first step on my, I'd always been interested in the mind and psychology and the way, our thoughts, how they direct, our environment and the actions we take. But
I think you muted yourself. You might have muted. Can you take a look? We just lost you there for a sec.
Oh, yeah.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you still.
Good.
So, did this start? So it started through prescription opiates, I guess, right?
Yep.
Is that because I hear that, but I'm never sure, how prevalent that is, or if it's just people, exaggerating that, or if it happens more often than not through prescribed opiates.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty common, pretty common. And, especially when, the, Purdue Pharma got, started having lawsuits on that, and that a lot of the doctors stopped prescribing opiates to people. And then made a lot of people go look, outside of the health system for their opiates. And it happens. It's pretty common, I think.
Yeah, I remember about 15 years ago, I guess now, or I just passed my 15-year mark actually in sobriety a couple days ago, 4 or 5 days ago.
Good.
I haven't talked about it on the show yet, but I remember, my ex-girlfriend's brother was addicted to Oxycontin, or however you pronounce that. And they were calling it hillbilly heroin back then. Like that was the thing that they looked for back then. It was pretty serious. Yeah. And that was 15, 20 years ago.
Yep. Yeah. And Iboga is the only thing really known to man to, alleviate the physical withdrawal symptoms of opiates, and also, to a degree, like getting somebody's mind worked out. And that was the start of my journey. And then Anthony, who you've had on, we both trained under this Bwiti Shaman that came to the West about 15 years ago or so. And he started the first kind of traditional based spiritual retreat for Iboga, because prior to that was all just Ibogaine clinics and, some people using it for psychospiritual purposes, but kind of just developing the system that they would use. And so this guy came from, just a tradition that comes from millennia. And he was the first one that could speak English and actually, share about Iboga, the wisdom of Iboga, how to work with it. And so there's kind of a core group of us that started training under this guy and eventually graduated. And that's why, Anthony and ourselves are here in Costa Rica, and our Bwiti Shaman's back in Gabon now, working, being a shaman.
So you got in right at the beginning then, I guess, of this guy coming out and sharing his wisdom, it seems.
Pretty early, and Iboga's certainly grown over the last, 5, 6 years. Like, word is just now getting out. Like, I'm talking, using it to alleviate opiate withdrawal, but it's so much more than that. And so now, word is finally getting out that, it works just as well for depression, anxiety, PTSD, abusive parents, whatever happens in our life. And, a lot of people just go through life and don't have the opportunity to release things like Iboga can help a person do. And so it really gets carried around for a long time. And so a lot of people come just to kind of shed the past from them and start new. And it absolutely does that. Once you get through something like this, in the proper setting and dosing and, everything's good that way. It really is like a fresh start in life. And, the Iboga stays in your system and very just gently guide your thoughts, or if the past comes up or you start getting too far into the future, and just kind of checks you, like makes you take a step back before you're going to build it into something bigger and allow it to start affecting your emotions. And so, it's really, really beautiful in that way. And word's definitely getting out.
Which is such an important part.
I have a stat here. I want you guys to both take a guess at what percentage of people queried in recovery got this through prescriptions.
Okay.
Now it's an older stat. I want to say, let me double check the year.
Just what year? Yeah, so 2017, something like that?
In 2014.
Ooh.
So almost 10 years ago. Responded to a 2014 survey of people in treatment for opioid addiction.
30%.
Yep, I would say something like that. Like, maybe a bit higher, 45.
94% of respondents to the 2014 survey of people in treatment for opioid addiction said they chose to use heroin because prescription opioids were far more expensive.
No way.
To obtain.
Oh my God.
No, I mean that's, we could be extrapolating from that, but this is from the American Society of Addiction to Medicine, Opioid Addiction 2016 facts and figures. So, wow. I mean, we could be extrapolating from that. Maybe they just got hooked on heroin and they're just saying we're using heroin because prescription stuff is cheaper. But I read that as they got there. So on top, it says right above that stat, it says 4 in 5 new heroin users started out misusing prescription painkillers.
Wow. Yeah. Makes sense.
So it's somewhere between 80 and 95%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when OxyContin came out and, the drug salesmen are visiting the doctor's office, all of them were trained to say it's not addictive at the beginning as well. And so, the doctors went with that and then, found out very different.
And the frustrating part is I can't even get low dose naltrexone for my girlfriend's chronic pain issues. They won't even prescribe that to her. So now we're at the pendulum swinging the farther way where we are in Canada, at least, now you can't even get prescribed things that you really want.
Yeah.
That's going to get way worse when they start running out of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has she been able to try that low dose naltrexone before?
No.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. There seems to be a lot of positive things about it in the small dose.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this then?
So, I met this Bwiti Shaman going on 14 years ago. And so spent quite a few years. I was living in Nicaragua, had an internet marketing business at the time and was doing that and would go back and forth between there and Costa Rica and train. So I had about a good 5-6 years of training with this guy. And then eventually graduated. So I've been, serving the medicine for about 7-8 years. And the where I'm at now, Iboga Wellness was started by my partner, Gary Cook, who's in his 70s now back in the States. But he started it and really our Bwiti Shaman ended up going back to Costa Rica. And so Iboga Wellness was kind of the only place that you could go for any sort of traditional psychospiritual work with Iboga. And so he really kept it going for a time period. Like, it was a definite money loser for quite a few years, but he kept it going so people would have a spot to come and heal and just move forward in life. And then, about 5 years ago, it finally, started supporting itself and, able to keep everybody happy as far as staff and things like that go. And so, and just within the last 2-3 years, Iboga has gotten exponentially more popular. And most of that is due to just people going back home, whether it's friends or family, and just seeing deep positive shifts in people. And so, I've been working, I first started about 14 years ago, and over the last 8 years, been here at Iboga Wellness.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
What's the experience like? What's it like? What's it? I mean, I've done quite a few psychedelics. A lot of people in our audience maybe haven't done. I talk to people all the time that are still nervous about the first time. So can you sort of from what I've heard, it's like sort of a severe introspection of all the decisions up until now that have made you who you are. But I've never tried it. So.
No, that can certainly happen. It's definitely like a really deep look at oneself and, why we do the things we do. A lot of people, bad habits or ways of feeling, eventually, realize this maybe happened when they were a kid or an adult or whenever it happened, but realize this one incident just, shifted something in them as far as a belief or as far as, taking in the experience as some way to react to things or living habits. And so, it's really deep look at yourself. It's a very deep physical cleanse. So I think a lot of people kind of take that for granted. So, I mean, it really, really cleans the body. And afterwards, if you're over 30 years old or
This time I have also lost him.
Okay, so me too, yeah. So I think it's him. He looks frozen there.
He looks kind of frozen. I think Jason just did a bunch of it. Looks like he's
I wanted to talk about that. Sorry, Levi, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry, that was me, I think.
Yeah, I think you were meant to, where were you at explaining the experience?
Yep. So, deep physical experience. A lot of people don't come to Iboga specifically for physical issues, but they bring them, to the retreat. And, it's really good for just a lot of inflammation. People that have car accidents or arthritis or tendon and joint problems, those, 90% of cases, a lot of that pain is going to be alleviated, maybe not completely, but it's going to be toned down quite a bit. And so, very deep physical cleanse, all the stuff that, nobody likes can certainly happen, nausea, it can be some purging orally, vomiting. People seem to pee a lot on it, sweating. And that may not happen all night, but it'll happen for a period. And so kind of how we look at it in the Bwiti is, the medicine goes in and cleanses a person physically first, and then it can start going into the mind and the emotions. And so it can really put your brain just on overdrive, where, thoughts are just firing faster than you can keep up with. And they're all over the place, and and so that's pretty typical. And when that happens, that's Iboga cleaning the mind. So it's very much cleaning the brain, but also cleaning the mind mentally, and just creating space inside. And so we start at the nighttime. We start taking the Iboga, and eventually somebody, the people feel like they need to lay down. So at some point they raise their hand, go lay down. And so during this night part of it, Iboga is essentially going in and like scraping things up, bringing it up to the surface. So then the following day, as it slows down, then the release part happens, which is typically the more difficult part for people, is this release part, because, just very deep, heavy emotions can come up. Like, if there's any way that we hurt ourselves, whether, substances or in the mind, it just really shows that to us and what we're doing to ourselves. And that can very much be difficult to, and it's just, in a normal state, we can think about that and it can definitely hit us. But during Iboga, it's just like times 10 how strong that can come up. And so there's, several hours just going through this process, just being shown your life, our actions, the things we do. And so typically people don't really feel good until they finally sleep after the experience. So, most people, if, we chat with them the day after, if they need any support or whatever, but probably about 80% of them, when they're in that spot, would say, because we do 2 ceremonies here, probably 80% of them would be like, I can't do the second one. Like, it's
wow, 80%.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, it's just really, really difficult for a lot of people. It's one of the more difficult things they'll do in their life. For some people, it's the most difficult thing they'll do in their life. And part of that is Iboga slows down time. So when you're going through this process the following day, if you're going through it all day for, 12 hours, say, it feels like 48. Like, time just really slows down because your senses are very heightened. And when the senses are heightened, we take in each moment on a deeper level. And so, but eventually they sleep and recover physically, getting them to drink coconut water and eat something. And eventually they sleep, wake up, and just feel really balanced, clear in their mind, thinking about past experiences that have hurt them, whatever they may be. They can come up in the mind, but they don't hit them in the same way. It doesn't give them the same reaction inside. And so that's the process of, these experiences no longer, following us around and playing a part in how we live and think from here. And so, once they get to that point, then they're like, if I can get that much gains out of one experience, I'm willing to sacrifice to go through the next one and really complete the work. And but it's amazing to see. Like, I'm here to guide people and set everything up for them, but Iboga is the one that does it. That's the one we all look to for the wisdom or the healing that we need. And so, it's just about caring for people in the right way and having the certain aspects needed to, have the needed elements of the Bwiti in, and just make it very productive and consistent. And Iboga is very consistent. There's been very few people that have come through over the last 8 years that were like, I don't know, what happened, or, I'm not sure if it helped me. Like, it does the job. It gets somebody to where they need to be to go on to the next stage in their life. And so a lot of that is going to be teachings like, here's the things I need to stop doing, or here's the things I need to start doing in life. Some of these things are going to require practice. And so there's a period of practice afterwards. But thankfully, the Iboga experience doesn't end here. People go home or move on in life, and there's definitely a period of time where there's just really strong guidance inside for people to really make shifts in their life. So it's really, really beautiful.
So that's really interesting. So what you're saying then is that after the first night, about 80% of the people say they probably won't do it the second time, but then after the next day or during the next day, they have changed their mind and want to do it?
Yep. Once they finally get that sleep, and feel the benefits of it. Yeah. And then nearly everybody ends up doing both of them.
That's fascinating. So what's the difference between that experience that you just described and like the ayahuasca, the traditional ayahuasca one?
Yeah. So I really love ayahuasca as well. There is a lot of overlap, during, say, an ayahuasca ceremony. One thing that is a lot more open is, say, you're in a room or a temple with people that are going through this experience, like the energy of all the people like really travels around a lot more in between the group. Whereas Iboga, it's very much you're more in your own space and your own cocoon for, during that time. So not as much energy is floating around. Typically ayahuasca can be more visual than Iboga. Like Iboga can be very visual for some people. For other people, they may not have visions at all. I'd say really, ayahuasca probably gives you like a bigger show in that way, whereas Iboga is really more concerned with the healing and like how we live our life and to teach us about ourselves. But there's definitely a lot of overlap. I've gotten a lot out of ayahuasca as well. But it does seem to hit in a different place. It teaches in a different way, and it seems to be able to, really dig the deep, deep things out of us that we just can't, some people just can't shake. And, but like you said, in general, Iboga is a more inward journey of looking at yourself, whereas ayahuasca, you can very much go out and travel and see what's happening and see the connection between, all living things and the cosmos, and the interconnectedness of that is very, very common. And that definitely happens with Iboga as well. But the Iboga like always brings it back home to us, what's going on with us. But yeah, no, definitely, two of the most potent plant teachers.
Yeah, it really seems like there's a practical thing there happening. Like you mentioned the space a couple times, or that it provides that pause maybe, so that it's easier not to attach to your negative feelings or emotions. I mean, that's so critical with trauma-based emotions and stuff like that. So why Costa Rica? Why is Costa Rica such a popular place for these types of things?
Yeah, it's certainly grown over the last 10 years. How we all got to Costa Rica was because the Bwiti Shaman I had mentioned was down here. And so we all kind of, he went back to Gabon, and a lot of us stuck around here. So that's one reason. And yeah, Costa Rica has just been really inviting for retreats and healing. And, it certainly gets a decent amount of tax dollars from that. And so, Iboga, ayahuasca, like all the plant medicines, they're not illegal, but they're, unregulated. And so you have to approach it from a psychospiritual standpoint, where you're not making claims that, you're going to heal certain things. And so, you gotta approach it, that way.
Yeah. Do you see a friend of ours just went through a ceremony where, I think it was in Mexico actually. And it was an Iboga ceremony with a mushroom ceremony in between, and then a second Iboga ceremony. And I think they're trying to bring it to Canada. He might even be learning how to do what you're doing in Canada. Is there like, have you heard of any movement towards US and Canada for this type of thing?
Yeah, at one point Canada was farther along. We have a friend, Mark from Canada, who's an Iboga provider. And yeah, at some point there was quite a bit of interest. He managed to make some contacts within Health Canada. I think even a few of the doctors or people associated with them ended up having some Iboga to, understand it. And he used to do a lot of detox work. And when you get into people like just on huge amounts of fentanyl and things like that, like it can get pretty hairy trying to detox those people from that. And eventually, I think a couple people ended up dying from various clinics that were operating in Canada, and they turned their back on the whole thing at some point. But it's coming for sure. The US to, Canada to the West, you guys actually there's a company called Universal Ibogaine on the Toronto Stock Exchange up there. And so I think they're doing quite a bit of, what do you call it?
Legislation type stuff, or?
Yep. Exactly. Like working with politicians, trying to get things moving there. But yeah, eventually once the efficacy comes out and you can't lie with the numbers, there's nothing that comes close to Iboga as far as addictions are concerned, and especially opiates. And I think eventually the data is going to get there. They'll probably have some pretty stringent requirements for how the therapy is given. But I think if I had to guess, I'd say within 5 years.
Any thoughts about doing? Well, actually, I'll ask you that later. I want to ask you more about this. BC, our province here, has legalized cocaine. I guess there's a couple weed shops that are now making their own cocaine and selling them. So, I mean, you'd think they'd be open to ibogaine, but Iboga. What's the difference between ibogaine and Iboga then?
Yeah, just real quick. That's really interesting. So BC legalized cocaine, huh?
Yeah, well, actually, I shouldn't. I don't want to speak out of.
I think not just cocaine, like everything.
But I don't know if it's legalized. They might have decriminalized it, but they're allowing people to make it themselves in these shops. So
amazing,
right, Darren? I think.
Yeah, you can. I think cocaine for sure. I'll take a look right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's taking quite a step, from mushrooms, from weed and mushrooms, because mushrooms was just recently in the headlines. I think there's a couple mushroom shops in Vancouver now, and now the hard drugs. I mean, very interesting.
Okay, here we go. We have, in a move to reduce the stigma of addiction, British Columbia is decriminalizing the possession of small quantities of illicit drugs, including cocaine, methamphetamine, ecstasy, and opioids like heroin, fentanyl, and morphine.
Wow. Yeah. Yes.
In the neck at a Starbucks.
Yeah. So I wonder if Iboga might fall under that same decriminalization out there, and if it was, that would be would
open it up quite a bit, right?
Yep. And there used to, our friend Mark used to be up in BC, have another friend that was in the area too, not working with addiction, but working some of the psychospiritual clients. And so, there's definitely a good history of Iboga in Canada. There is it was kind of a hot spot probably 9 years ago or so for Iboga.
Huh. It really seems like it should be more prominent, considering, I mean, I don't know the stats or anything like that, but opiate addiction seems to be the one that's really getting worse and worse and rising. I mean, I don't know the difference between alcoholism and all the other, addictions, but it seems to me like it's getting worse with the fentanyl and the prescription stuff and the heroin.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just mangling lives up. Yeah. And what happens with those guys is, even if they detox, say they go to a traditional rehab clinic, and say they get 28 days or something like that clean, like for a lot of them, that's just not enough time for them to fully come back and feel like themselves. So even months afterwards, just the brain is still trying to get back to baseline. The serotonin's not pumping properly, the adrenals, the dopamine. And so the Iboga, brings all that back up to baseline and makes them feel like themselves again. And so, it just takes a long time without it.
And what's the difference between Iboga and Ibogaine?
So, there's more, but there's, I think, 13 identified Iboga alkaloids within the plant, with Ibogaine being one of them. And I'm not sure who I'm trying to think of who originally extracted that from the plant, but that came, there was a guy, Howard Lotsoff, that eventually tried Ibogaine. One of his chemist friends had given him a bit, and he ended up patenting it, I think in the 70s or maybe the 80s, and patenting Ibogaine and lobbying the government to try and give people access to that. And so that kind of, it definitely had the most attention. So, even though say, Ibogaine alleviates the physical withdrawal of opiates, the other alkaloids, or at least some of them, do as well. But that one was popularized, and for actual opiate detox, it's probably better than Iboga itself. It seems to go through the body quicker. People come back quicker, whereas Iboga is kind of, the length of time that you're under the medicine seems to be longer. And then, people, the clinics are run by doctors for the most part. And so they want to be able to dose exactly, so many milligrams of Ibogaine per kilogram of body weight, which, makes sense. But on our side, we know that somebody's weight doesn't have anything to do with how high their tolerance is for Iboga. And so what happens there at the clinics is a lot of them just get way overdosed. Some of them get underdosed. Some of them get dosed properly, but they, it's just not the way to do that. And the reason they do that is because a lot of them have never taken it before themselves. They don't know the effects or, how people feel within it. And so, having, even at an Ibogaine clinic, having people that actually work with it in some way and have taken it is an important part. But, and then a lot of the kind of psychedelic medicine companies out there are trying to develop ways of using Ibogaine, like say without the like hallucinogenic part of the process, or some of them I'm sure are trying to develop something where it's just easier on the body or the heart as people go through it. And so there's a lot of hands on deck. There's a handful of companies in the startup space, or even a couple that are publicly traded that are putting a lot of resources into finding some form of Ibogaine that the FDA will approve of.
Yeah. So, what was I going to ask you next? About the mushroom ceremony. What's your thought about the mushroom ceremony between two Iboga ceremonies?
I wouldn't personally do that, from my perspective anyways. Like Iboga has everything you need in it, like everything that we need to learn about ourselves and learn how to live a good life is in there. So it's an interesting approach, and it's probably helpful for a lot of people. I wouldn't do that though. So I'm just not don't fully understand why that would be needed. Do you know how long of a retreat or a process that is whenever they do that?
I think it was about a week, I think.
A week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of action within the week. At least if you're dosing people, and really getting them there with Iboga, like for quite a few people, it can take 36 kind of 48 hours to fully come back from it. And so the mushrooms is quite a bit shorter, but that's a lot.
I think it helped him accept the Iboga, or actually just get back into it, or it sounded to be beneficial for him anyways. But
okay, for your friend, good, good.
So maybe we could talk now about your 8-day, your process and the 8-day thing and the way you guys do it down there. And included in that, do you need to do any kind of pre-fasting or pre-abstinence from substances or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. So yeah, we don't do like the actual like active opiate detox work here. So we have people either get clean beforehand, or we recommend an Iboga clinic where they do good work, and for people to go there. But yeah, so people have to be clean. There's definitely some screening for SSRIs and other medications that might have interactions with Iboga, and
Oh, wow.
so, Iboga seems to potentiate most things. And so, yeah, definitely looking at the medication, their physical health. With that said, we do get, a lot of older people that come through, and for a lot of people coming here, this is kind of their first big plant medicine or a psychedelic experience, probably 30% of people that come. And so, yeah, just making sure they're fit and it's going to be safe for them. And, for psycho-spiritual work, it's very safe. Where things can kind of get more dangerous is during a detox process like that. That's a very different deal. So for the listeners out there that may go and look up Iboga or Ibogaine afterwards, and they read about there's been some deaths, and there has been, maybe 35 or so over the last 15 years or so. There has been, but I've never heard of anybody having like any sort of real medical emergency going through a psycho-spiritual experience. And so that's what we do here. And so, yeah, we just encourage people to eat healthy beforehand, not fast. Actually, I had to tell a guy that's coming to our next retreat, he was fasting, and we put it in like an arrival and preparation info. But I said, you definitely want to be nourished going into something like this, because it's gonna take everything out of you. And so, we speak with the people, make sure they're ready. Like that's the whole key to this process, is people really wanting change in their life, so you can't like just send your husband or wife or your kid and say, hey, go do this and get better. Like people actually have to want it. And so making sure they have that part of it, because if they have that part, then the odds are very good that they're going to get a lot out of it. So yeah, making sure they're ready in that way. We have people just very simply think about like things that need to change in their life. So really 3 to 5 foundational things that they would like to shift through the experience. And then, eventually they show up. We go through a pretty in-depth orientation on just how to approach the whole experience, like how you're going to feel, what's going to be happening. Like, if this comes up, do this. If this comes up, do that. And, what separates us from some of the other places that may do, some sort of Iboga treatment is, like I mentioned, we follow a path called Bwiti that this Bwiti Shaman introduced us to. And a Bwiti is somebody that uses Iboga to study life, to learn about themselves and what they want in life. And so the wisdom, it's uncanny, if you've never had Iboga, but the wisdom that comes through this medicine is just, timeless. And so, going back to probably, in the scientific community, a lot of people agree that the earliest humans possibly came from Gabon, the Congo, Cameroon, like that part of Africa. And so it's been used there for, hundreds or thousands of years. And so through that time, what they found is as they took Iboga, a lot of the same messages kept coming through time and time again on what it means to be a human. And so this whole tradition was developed, and it's essentially a set of life lessons to go to whenever things come up in life. And so anything to do with the things we tell ourselves, relationships, what do we do with emotions or negativity? And so there's a lesson within the Bwiti that kind of covers all those aspects of life. And so a big part of being here is like sharing that with people so they can take it in, hear it, but then what happens is they have to go through the experience themselves to really know it. So we know in the Bwiti, the only way to truly know something is to experience it. And so it's one thing to hear it from me or our team here, and it's another thing to actually go in and find those truths for yourself. And so there's just very grounded, simple information that people can take with them and continue to grow afterwards. And so we're kind of sharing that with people throughout the week. And so people come here. We do ceremony on nights 2 and 5. And so those typically, we go all night, but it's typically at least a 24-hour process, 36-hour process. And then, we go on nature outings, get to the beach or the hot springs or something like that. We also do a spiritual shower ceremony, which doesn't involve Iboga, but it's a traditional Bwiti cleansing that happens in the river, which, for a lot of people, when they come in, not really looking forward to that, or they're kind of like, whatever, but it really is a very powerful process just to leave some things behind. And so we do that. Yeah, we have a really great chef here, like a really world-class Costa Rican woman that's our chef here. So all, very healthy local foods. And and a lot of fun happens too. Like a lot of deep emotions happen, but as people come out of it, there's also just a lot of laughter, and Iboga can be pretty humorous as well when you're in it. So sometimes somebody's laying there and starts laughing, and then the next person starts laughing, and so it can definitely go around like that. Similar to like mushrooms are super funny as well.
Yeah. Can you get into that spiritual shower a bit more?
Yeah. So there's a couple main plants that they use for that. And so it's the same plant that grows in West Africa. It grows naturally here in Costa Rica. It's a type of cane. So these leaves from the cane are kind of the main ingredient. And then there's other things we put into the bundles, other plants like we use star anise for part of it, and a couple other plants that I don't know the name of them, but can identify them. And so, people going into that spiritual shower, whatever they wear into that spiritual shower will be left behind. And so whatever clothes they're going to wear in, are left behind afterwards. But we get to the river. There's a process for introducing yourself to this river, and how we do that in the Bwiti, because it works outside of Iboga as well. But if we want to introduce ourselves to something in nature within the Bwiti, we do that by saying our full name at birth, our mother's full name at birth, and our father's full name at birth, and make an introduction that way. And with that information, whatever is out there within nature knows where we come from, all the way back to the beginning of our lineage. And, that, a lot of people come because things get passed down from generation to generation. And Iboga is a very powerful tool for, nipping that in the bud. Like if we have people that come through for, some sort of sexual abuse, like if it's from someone in their family, like that's typically almost always gone back, a few generations, somehow it got into that. And so, but one thing's for sure, even if our ancestors did, ugly things or bad things, if it wasn't for our ancestors, we wouldn't be here. So if our great grandma wasn't born, we very well may not have been given the gift of life and the opportunity to be here and live. And so in the Bwiti, we talk about, life being the biggest thing that can ever happen. Like that trumps everything, because without our life, we're not really sure what's going on, because when we come into this world, we're given a mind, body, and soul, and our senses to make sense of it. And we can't die or go on the other side, use our senses, or, experience that fully. And so, going all the way back to the beginning, like everything that happened throughout our lineage had to happen in order for us to be given life. And so, so we make that introduction so the thing in nature knows where we come from, get them in the river. And there's essentially a part where people ask for things that they want to remove and leave behind in their life. And then another part for calling in the things that they want to bring into their life, the good things that they want to happen in their life. And go through that process. And we go through the senses on the person with that bundle of leaves, and eventually start getting them wet and getting water on them, and essentially scrubbing them down with this bundle, and eventually rinsing them with it. And then so they get done, go and change their clothes, and then they have to walk away from the area. So that, signifies, just leaving it behind and not looking back from there. And it usually takes like 15 minutes per person. And for a lot of people, it's definitely a shifting point in the week, and that process works without even having Iboga. Like, it's very powerful just on its own, but it's kind of one of those things you kind of have to be there, had it done to really, really experience it and know what it is. But yeah, it's powerful.
That sounds cool. What's the Bwiti's opinion on after life after death and reincarnation and stuff like that?
Yeah, so at least in our Bwiti, so we, so one of the big lessons or ways of viewing life through the Bwiti is there's things that come from, God or the creator or an energetic world, things that are bigger than us, the things that create life. And then there's things that come from humans, so things that come from men. And so, like in our Bwiti, it's not necessarily a religion. It's more of just a spiritual path. So we don't try and define what the creator is or how they look or, what's going on, and kind of accept that it's just so much bigger than us that it's not for us to know everything. And so, so with the afterlife, like I was saying, so, say with people that have had near death experiences in their life, people do kind of describe some of the same things with white light and, coming to the opening of it or whatever. But the thing is, none of them fully died all the way and came back from it. They had, a near death experience. And so in the Bwiti, we want to be able to verify things with our senses. That's how we make sense of the world. And we talk about, say, if we can verify something with at least 3 of our 6 senses. And when I say 6 senses, so we have our 5 physical senses, and then our third eye or our intuition. If we can verify something with at least 3 of those, we can be 110% true, sure that it's real and it's true. And with death and the other side of that, we just can't experience that right now. And so eventually we will. Eventually we'll leave our physical bodies and be able to experience that. And so, but one thing I know through working with this medicine and Iboga and the tradition, part of it is connecting with ancestors, people on the other side. We definitely know they're there and something's happening, but to kind of fully explain it is just beyond what we can experience. But I do suspect that the soul keeps traveling and keeps going, keeps moving on.
Yeah Darren, do you got any questions at all?
What's the process for making a Iboga? Is there I know it's because with ayahuasca it's kind of tricky. I mean, mushrooms are easy, you just pick them up and eat the shit.
Yeah.
But ayahuasca, you got to get the mono inhibitors going and stuff like that. What about Iboga? How do you make it? What's it made out of, and where did it come from?
Yeah, so Iboga, I'm not exactly sure how they make it, but somehow they end up separating the alkaloids and extracting the ibogaine from there. But for us, we work with straight root bark. So you could essentially uproot a plant, shave off the bark that's on the roots of the plant, dry it out, grind it up into some sort of powder, and eat it that way. So you can do it just like right from the plant. And then we also make total alkaloid extract here organically. And so that's a process of getting it in some sort of acetic acid and soaking it and stirring it and eventually collecting straining the root bark out and saving the juice. And you save that juice and we put it in a dehydrator, and eventually it turns into a goo and then a powder, and we put that in capsules. So it has the ibogaine, it has all the alkaloids of the plant in itself, but just in a concentrated version. So it's a bit more potent. But you could absolutely just take cut a root off the plant and like chew around the outside, and that would work.
Cool. Darren, do you got anything else?
No, I mean, I know maybe one day. I don't know if I'd go there or not. I mean, I don't know if it's something I'm interested in doing. I feel like I've done enough introspecting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, everybody doesn't need to come down here. People are definitely called. Usually it's when people, there's something getting at them that they just haven't been able to shake for a long time. And, this is kind of the last shot or one of the main shots to make that happen. And so, it's definitely not for everybody, but there is, even without a lot of trauma, like a decent chunk of the people that come through, aren't coming because of this one specific thing that happened or whatever, happened in their life. They're coming just kind of feeling like, they want some guidance on the next stage in their life, where they go from here, like how to live a good life. Like that's what it's about. We're, given the gift of life to be here and experience it, and, definitely want to make the most of it.
Sounds like that Bwiti thing about the gift of life is a very gratitudious, or how do you say that? Like a gratitude practice in a way.
Sure.
It seems like their view is grounded in gratefulness for life. Absolutely.
Yeah. In our Bwiti, we talk about there being one prayer, and that's each day when we wake up in the morning, just giving thanks for another day of life and being here. Yeah, it definitely sets the tone for the day. If you can be grateful, right at the beginning of your day, it sets everything else in motion.
So your program is 8 days. How many people usually go through it at once?
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. So
Any
it's not
freak
too huge.
Any what? Freak outs?
Have you had anything that's like, whoa, this is fucking getting out of hand?
Yeah, we've had one legitimate one before, a woman that came down probably 4.5 years ago or so. And I don't, tough to say, but I don't know. She was being honest about herself, where she was at. And we ended up having to take care of her for about 5-6 days. But thankfully, that's really been the only one. Sometimes people can get a little weird, but thankfully with Iboga, they'll listen to you for the most part. And just takes a bit of time for it to work through them. But usually, that's a big difference with like ayahuasca and Iboga too. Like sometimes with ayahuasca ceremonies, like some people start getting naked, or they start going after you, wanting to hit you or something like that. Whereas with Iboga, that doesn't happen. Like everybody's just pretty well laid out and doesn't want to move too much, and really still within reality. So people don't go so far where they lose touch with who they are or where they're at. They always know, what's happening. A lot of deep things could be happening, but it's, they're still here.
Still a physical awareness there. So what do you suggest that people do after the program? Is there an aftercare suggestions or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Pretty simple stuff. So one of the things we do is we have our own integration calls each month for anybody that's ever come here. And so we do those each month and keep people connected with the medicine that way, and just, sharing with other people that have had the experience. And then, we recommend, during the ceremonies, we play Bwiti music during the ceremony, which is very eccentric music. There's like an 8-string harp that's kind of one of the main instruments, and then there's a thing that kind of looks like a bow from a bow and arrow that came from a pygmy hunter that you that they have a little stick and play on the hit this stick and make a really interesting sound. I actually play that a bit as well. But yeah, just going back, like after this experience is so deep, like even just hearing the music kind of takes you back into that space of when people were here. So doing a bit of that, encourage people to go out, just say if they're can find a safe place, of course, going out, just spending 24 hours by themselves in nature can be very powerful. Definitely if they want more intense coaching, we work with a handful of coaches that people can work with, and that's certainly productive. But usually the Iboga gives you a pretty clear plan on like what needs to happen from there. And it can break them down into really simple steps. Like, here's the most important one. I need to go, do this or practice this to get this one, and then the next one. So people usually have a lot of guidance, like on what they're going to do post retreat and what they need to do.
Awesome.
Great. Well, I mean, I would love to come to Costa Rica. So. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. This is a good time of year coming up here too, like June, July, August. Yeah, if you guys do ever make it down here, man, yeah, come by. I appreciate you definitely having me here and being able to share about Iboga. Is it pretty small? Is it like could you come down there and like rent a car and like if you have a few buddies down there, see everyone in a week sort of thing? Or
yeah, if you go from the north all the way to the south, that's probably like a 10-hour, 11-hour drive. But yeah, no, you can definitely make up you could see a lot of spots in a week for sure. And there's many, many beautiful spots. Just, the nature here is pretty amazing.
Seems pretty affordable once you get there too.
Yeah, it's not bad. Costa Rica is like the most expensive Central American country, but yeah, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, it can definitely be done. Like down here by where I live, they have like the largest farmers market in Costa Rica every week, and so yeah, buying like direct from the producers there, and so no, you can make it happen where you don't have to break the bank for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just looking at the map, and like Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, like those are all, you have to go through them to get from South to North America. Like you have to.
Oh wait, is Costa Rica not an island?
No, it's right between Panama and Nicaragua there. So you got to, like, if you were traveling from south to north, you'd have to go through all those countries
and over the canal.
I don't know.
North or south of Panama.
Yeah,
it's north of Panama. Yeah.
Oh, so you wouldn't have to go over the canal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we could drive there. Fast.
Yeah, we'll drive. That'd be a good road trip.
You can drive. Eventually, you get to a spot in Panama where you they don't have roads anymore. So like the southern part of Panama going into like northern Colombia, I believe. There's a pretty big forest in there, and
can you not get through on cars? Can you not drive through?
Not from
Panama to Colombia.
Yep. You would have to ferry the car down or something.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I thought you'd be able to. The land is there, but yeah, wow.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, it
Super-
doesn't look like I could drive there. That's well.
Yeah,
So
you
did
can
we
get here though?
did we leave? Did we get everything covered?
I think so, man. I think so. No, I definitely appreciate it. Hopefully, give your viewers some wisdom about Iboga. Like you can definitely touch some people that, may need it to kind of have the breakthrough they need to continue on in life. So yeah, no, definitely appreciate it. And good job.
Thanks.
Hearing it.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll keep in touch and
Levi, make sure you give us your URLs because lots of people don't bother to check the show notes, even though Graham does such a great job. So it's always good to just bark them out here so people that are driving or whatever can check it out.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, no, I did see those show notes, man. They're pretty in depth. Nice work. So our website is Iboga Wellness. So IBOGA wellness.com. And people can contact me through there if they want to get in touch. And hopefully we'll definitely post this podcast on our site too once you guys publish it. And thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Levi.
Yeah, take care, guys. No, very much appreciate it. Yeah, be well and best wishes to you.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
Ciao for now.
Thank you.
And that was a chat with Levi in Costa Rica. What do you think?
Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
Why do I keep thinking Costa Rica as an island? Fuck, that's like the third.
Well, you know why? You know what it is? I know exactly what it is. You're thinking of the other one that's on the side
Puerto
of the
Rico.
Dominican. The Dominicans on the
I think I'm
island.
thinking of Puerto Rico.
You think so? Is that what it is?
Aren't
You're
they
getting
both
that
like-
and Costa Rica mixed up.
Aren't they both like quasi states?
Not Costa Rica, no. Puerto Rico is, but I don't really know what it is, but it's. I know what you're saying. That's Puerto Rico. Yeah, Costa Rica's not. But I always get the Dominican Republic and Costa Rica mixed up for some reason.
Interesting. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, we could still drive down from. You'd have to go. It's quite a ways past Mexico City there, but.
I wonder. You'd probably want to I wonder if you'd want to take an older vehicle.
That's what I pictured too.
You might be weird driving through some of those countries in a brand new car. You might just you want to call attention to yourself.
Yeah, we might be saying something crazy by even suggesting that, but
You're like driving something old and what? You think we're being racist?
no, not at all. No, just like that nobody would ever drive all the way down there.
Oh no, that's probably crazy. I do have a couple of buddies, so not really buddies. I don't even know if I know the chick or not. I might. But I definitely used to chum around with the dude. His name was Clayton. But they went right from Vancouver all the way down to all the way down the fucking Pacific coast. I remember they're posting pictures on their social media where they were taking showers in some fucking country down in South America or Central America where it's where it shocks the water above your head to get hot.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It seems a little sketchy. It's probably it takes you a minute to get used to that. But I know some people who did it, so maybe you can drive all the way if you go down the coast.
Yeah, maybe.
There's some countries there I might not want to drive through, though. I mean, maybe whatever, call me whatever you want, but
it does look like that road goes from Puerto Vallarta, below that all the way. It looks like it goes pretty coastal all the way past Acapulco and then all the way down to Guatemala, basically.
Because you can't bring your piece through Mexico, so you're gunless.
Oh my God. I can't believe you'd even bring that up. I would
So
even
just out in the
consider
jungle
bringing
in the middle of
anything.
Well, I mean, dude, let's be honest. You're not going to last long in the wild. There's a lot of wild down there. You're very much Homo sapiens domesticus. Anyway.
You can get through with good intentions and magic.
You sure can. Didn't you, you didn't read Game of Thrones, but you watched it. That's what it turns into real quick.
No, I read most of it.
Tell a lot of jokes. You better
I read most of it. I think I got stuck in the middle of the 4th book or something.
Work on your routine.
Yeah.
So you can keep at least the people who are running the place laughing. But I guess just say things like how can be. And we won't be able to stop cracking up. Big thanks to Levi for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks, guys, if you're one of the few who choose to support our work over here at Grimericans.ca/support. We cannot do it without you. We will not do it without you. Grimericans.ca/support today. If you are getting some value from our show, we got almost 600 episodes. We're coming up on 600 fast. I don't know if it's not really a special number, but we're almost there. And you should support us. Grimericans.ca/support. We give all that shit for free. The whole back catalog, everything, in the hopes that if you do like it, you are getting some value from it. You support us. And with inflation and everything else, all that shit is down. So we need new people that are in a position to throw a few bucks our way. Head over to Grimericans.ca/support today and do so. While you're there, hit the adultbrain.ca, get yourself some audiobooks. Contact thecabin.com. We have fantastic trips coming up. This should come out before we go to Utah with Dave Matheson and Brown and Powell. And then we got the Scablands is selling out fucking fast. And so's the Montana one. So sign up for all that stuff, guys. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
I'm walking gingerly through the rat race. Take a look at the big old smile on my face. Kicking around down by the pool of narcissists. The people are many, they preen themselves, oh how they navel gaze. Somewhere over that hill, the gloomy skies cease to exist. I'm climbing that hill, I pass by and pity the poor Sisyphus. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. I'm strolling down a static electric avenue. The people are predictable, they say good morning, how do you do? When out of nowhere, a randomly pure angel in the crosswalk bumps into me. And in doing so, knocks all the evil and all the wind out of me. And it's black as tar, ugly as ever, and of no apology. This angelic mama sings heavenly of the truest theology. Together we're a seraphim dream, forever young with no chronology. 1,000 years from now we'll be written into ancient mythology. We go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. Can you tell me about the view up there? It's sparkling remarkably, the air is crystal clear. Well, please won't you tell me what it takes to transcend this place? A little bit of heart and a whole lot of soul. Take a look at the big old smile on my face. As my angel says, dance with me and your life will never, ever, ever be dull. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. 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 Turn into a beam of light.
Bye.